What you're about to watch is an experiment in free speech. The people in the show are not actors, just regular people doing regular jobs. The organization is called Fortress of Freedom. I'm Dan Strudwick, one of its members. Fortress of Freedom is an organization that promotes free speech by allowing ordinary people access to the mass media. By accessing the mass media, all members of society can participate in expressing themselves to the community. There are many ways to do this through writing, song, speech, and visual arts. At Fortress of Freedom, we participate in helping all forms of expression access to the mass media. In the show you're about to see, we put theory into practice and made our own TV show in September 2004. We want to show by example that anyone can access the mass media and express themselves to the world. Our show was a learning experience. It's not the best show ever made, but it's ours and we did it on our own. And because of that, we think it's special. And it makes the point that anyone can enter the mass media. Enjoy the show.
Okay.
Okay.
This is Emily.
Yes.
She's been with us from the very beginning. And as a matter of fact, she was our first model that modeled our original press card. We're having some lousy luck. It's raining outside. It's doing everything, but a true trooper. She showed up on time, and here she is. Emily, what can I tell you? You did our first press card. You did our radio ads. You did modeling for us. We thought you might not make it to the show, but you may not. We don't know, but I had to get you on here one way or the other. Even though we have very little light, and I don't know how this is going to turn out. But I just want to say thanks, Emily.
No problem.
Yeah. And if you're not there for the show, you can probably open it anyways. Just tell the world, welcome to the Fortress TV show.
Welcome to the Fortress TV show.
Hi, this is Dan Strudwick for Fortress of Freedom. Fortress of Freedom is an international media organization advocating freedom of speech and thought without censorship by enabling ordinary people and special interest groups to report the news and how it affects them via the internet, newspaper, reporting, publishing, and TV and radio commercials. Fortress of Freedom as an organization gives people and groups access to the mass media that only large corporations can afford. We're here at Sunnybrook Park in Toronto to meet some of the people who are already involved with Fortress of Freedom, beginning with its founder, Maurice Ali. Morning, Maurice.
How you doing, Dan?
Hey. What makes you decide to create Fortress of Freedom?
Well, the original inspiration for it was a soldier who just arrived back from Iraq, an American soldier, who decided to post some of his pictures. He had hundreds of pictures and videos. And what happened is that as he posted them on free web hosting sites, they were editing out the more violent imagery and whatnot. And he was looking for somebody to host these pictures for his friends to see, so I decided to do it. And then I decided you need a venue where you can actually do things like that, like show the truth about what's happening in Iraq. So I hosted the pictures on my website, and I just kept them there and forgot about it. And sure enough, a half a year later, the U.S. House of Representatives lifted the photos and actually used it in a presentation they had.
Wow.
But that was the original inspiration for it, and it turned out to be one of the best things for our organization.
That's an amazing story, Maurice. Hey, can you explain to us the philosophy behind Fortress of Freedom?
Well, the philosophy generally is that it is in the human nature of man to be free, to say what they want and think what they want. I've said it many times before that basically when you look at a child, it starts speaking all on its own. It doesn't look for permission or anything like that. And that's what I call our human nature. And we are taught not to say certain things and whatnot, but we are naturally made to just speak whatever's on our mind. And bearing that in mind, I intend to help in as many ways as possible to keep people able to speak their mind without worrying about consequences or penalties or imprisonment or whatever.
Amazing. So, in the future, what plans do you have to develop this organization?
Well, our most immediate plans is to get media accreditation with the UN. I'd also like to get NGO status with the UN. That would allow us to work in workshops and lobby on an international level. And my ultimate goal is to actually speak personally to the countries that are participating in the United Nations. That would be my ultimate goal.
It's a good goal.
Well, that's my personal goal. The ultimate goal of our organization is to expand throughout the world and to enhance and secure freedom of speech through freedom of the press and individual freedoms of speech and thought.
Well, it sounds like a worthy cause. Well, thanks for being with us here today, Morris.
No problem. Thanks. My name is Morris Alley, and I am the founder of Fortress of Freedom. And I would like to take a few moments of your time to show you some of our achievements since starting this organization. Here to help us with these displays is one of our members, Shalisa. Say hello, Shalisa.
Hello.
Okay, this is the first press card ever issued to us. It is unique in that not only does it have the designation and photos and such, but on the back, and Shalisa, if you could turn it over,
No problem.
is a URL address which will present a journalist's credentials on any computer capable of internet access. We went out of our way to make our websites the most accessible websites on earth. The system is designed to work in third world nations with problematic internet access and older computers. Okay, and if we could go to the newspaper. Okay, this is our first issue of our newspaper called The Fortress. Members who sign up and have not met our requirements for membership can meet them by posting a story on our website and having them published in our newspaper. Presently, our distribution is in universities in North America and the UK. And if you could hold up the CD. Okay, the CD you see in front of you is our first radio ad that was aired on CKLN in Toronto for over a month. This commercial showed the world that we access radio and work in that medium. Expect more from us, including a possible radio show. Okay, and our book. We are also a publishing company, and here is the first book we published. It is mostly archival material of protests we covered in the Toronto area in the last year. We really do not wish to be a full-time publisher, but if the need arises, we are more than capable. Thank you very much, Elisa.
You're welcome.
So, what does Fortress of Freedom mean to Mark Moore?
Well, it's the ability to be able to give anyone a voice, the little person a voice, because so very rarely do you hear that voice, and sometimes people don't say something because they're afraid. No, not that they're afraid, but they don't have a venue to say it in. And Fortress of Freedom is one of those vehicles that allows them that. I always forget about that thing in the camera, the lens.
In your application to Fortress of Freedom, you submitted some controversial and compelling works.
I don't know, I haven't talked to him.
What was the impetus for this?
No, real life is interesting and compelling. It's hard to avoid, but I've always been a type of underground-minded, if that makes any sense. So you're more compelled to be drawn to things that are underground as well. So that's why you pay attention to things that are under the brush, because chances are when you look under the brush, you see things from a different angle. Big media and big business always going to show you a glossy image because glossy images sell. But it's the real grit that is the real truth. And that's the only way I can write, by looking at the dirt. If you want to hear the fluff, there's all sorts of examples for that already, so no point. No point being painting a Picasso picture over again. You're supposed to paint your own picture.
Some liken your style to an early Hunter Thompson. How do you feel about comparisons being drawn between such works?
Well, there's no doubt I did interviewed. I was influenced by Thompson for sure. There's no doubt about that. But it's and the thing I drew from it, and the thing I really, my interpretation of his work is that you do it yourself. You kind of punk rock journalism. I think of it more as a punk rock journalism than than gonzo journalism, because punk rock's idea is that you do it yourself. You take what you got, and you doesn't matter if you don't have any talent. It doesn't matter at all. You just put it out there and look at it from your own unique angle, because that's compelling.
Sorry about that, guy. And I also think too that, you know, like Mark was saying, that you know, I know your idea of keeping it simple and almost unprofessional or natural,
Well,
if you will.
amateurish. It doesn't have to be bad. But
Yeah.
amateur.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But walking the thin line between the two, I think, would give it a greater audience, I think.
And we're not interested in audiences.
Well, you do want people listening, right?
Oh, some people will be watching it, but the people who will be watching it that we are trying to lobby are the people that have seen this all before.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to know, they know a professional presentation when they see it, they know a production house presentation when they see it, and they know a bunch of amateurs doing something when they see it.
Yeah.
If we come across honestly that we're just a bunch of ordinary people, and we are, if we come across as just a bunch of ordinary people that are genuinely interested in keeping their rights to free speech and free thought and are willing to take it to places like the UN and all that, then we've got an audience, and then we have the moral high ground. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen after that is that people are going to come in and try to pervert that, and when they pervert that by having you slide or become a bit more commercial or whatever, then they've effectively wiped you off the face of the earth, and then we can't do stuff like.
Got you to sell out.
Well, yeah, that's a bit like if we go for a broadcasting license and we say we're for community TV or whatever, somebody's going to come around and try to like, oh, why don't you do this one? And then later on they'll say, well, look, they backslid and they did this, so they're no better than us. So you know, why bother? It always happens, and all I'm trying to do is just
hold the integrity.
Yeah, and it's always a sliding thing. Eventually, we're going to lose some of that moral integrity, but we can't lose it now, not at this stage.
Yeah.
I mean, then we just sold out. The larger the group gets, the harder it's going to get. And as chief officer of this thing, I have to, sooner or later, within 18 months, sit down and craft the Constitution or the resolutions. And I'm almost going to make it ironclad that this is the direction we're going and we can't veer. Now, with the media company, I have to open it up a bit because we have to make some money to keep the organization going. So we have to open it up a bit, but I got to make sure that it doesn't get perverted so that 10 years from now, when I look at it, it's a bunch of guys and a bunch of BMWs and Porsches driving around with some 25-year-old bimbo in the seat and a big house in Leaside. That's not that bad.
Cut. You mean that we're not shooting for that? I don't want anything to do with this production anymore.
I know I've been had.
Can't we pretend that we're
Let's get a little bit of
So you just have to keep your head down there, focused on what you do, and you can compete with a big corporation that way. But human nature, what it is, everybody sells out. And they win in the end. Except fools like me, philosophy students. But that's where I'm coming from, Mark. The only reason I'm not doing this for money, it's just, I know that's going to drive some of you crazy. I'm just doing it for...
I guess my point is, okay, we're reaching for the UN, reaching for credibility, but...
Oh, we've got the credibility. We're reaching for the UN.
Okay. And after that, what's that?
Well, ultimately, I want to give a speech on the floor of the General Assembly. That's what I want to do. And I want to leave this earth, because I'm not getting any younger, knowing that I left some kind of legacy for the other people so that they can actually think without being brainwashed through the mass media, or say speak their mind without worrying whether they're going to go to jail or whether they're going to be ostracized, right? I mean, I'm not the only one. The bottom line is that we just don't have the money. We have the moral high ground, but we don't have the money. And sometimes the moral high ground, with a lot of good talk, can get you a lot further. But as soon as you backslide on that, you're off you've gone. Yeah.
And then we just chat and forget about the camera for a couple minutes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just gonna turn around. This stuff works,
Or
man.
better yet, why don't you get into the mix?
I don't want
I mean,
to.
you're the invisible man. Get in front of the
I
camera.
like being
Yeah, because you're another person, right?
We're supposed to do an interview with this guy too.
Who?
You.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, you said we would do a mini interview. Come on, even if it doesn't. Okay, we have with us Michael Atkinson. He's our technical director and cameraman on the Fortress TV show. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, you're a pretty interesting guy. I want to know how you got involved in film and how you got involved in music, because unbeknownst to many of our viewers, you gave us a pretty good song and guitar show, and you also seem to know your way around the camera. What's your background in both of those fields?
Excellent question. I've been a musician since I was a kid.
choirs, grades 1, 2, and 3. My mother picked music over hockey because it was cheaper, and sort of I got into music by accident, and just had a natural aptitude to a degree for punk rock anyway. And it was a lot of fun. It became my passion. And music being the medium that it is, naturally lends itself to other forms. One of my aspirations at one point was to I would be happy to put on the epitaph soundtrack for movie X. So the two sort of objectives were married and became invisible. I just got into both. I love music, I love imagery, and I love the combination of both.
Yeah, but you don't do that for a living.
No.
What happened there?
You don't get paid. It's sad, but okay, I'll tell you the truth. I'll be honest with you. I didn't want to end up having to go to, Northern Ontario, somewhere like remote BC, to work at some community cable station and live like a pauper for 20 years, hoping for the best. It's all right, Brian. So yeah.
Well, that's cool. Laid back guy. I like the work you do. Where do you want to go with this? Or is this just always going to be just a part-time, whenever I get the opportunity type of affair?
I was a videographer for a while, but it was mostly weddings, parties, anything. And it didn't really appeal to me because every time you flip that light on, everybody froze like deer in headlights. I was more into the sort of guerrilla filmmaking, the underground stuff, and opportunities like today are few and far between in my world, and I'll jump at the chance to assist with Fortress of Freedom again. I like the people. I like what they stand for. We agree to disagree on particular topics, but that's how it keeps it interesting. You know what I mean? If you don't have some sort of intellectual discourse and a tiny bit of discord, there's no growth, there's no evolution, there's no development.
Well, we're glad to have you aboard. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning. We're here with singer-songwriter Dave Getchell, who's going to perform an original composition for us this morning. Just going to ask you a couple questions, Dave. How long have you been writing music?
I've been writing music since I was about 16, and I'm over 40 now, so it's a while. I've never really given up the idea of pursuing a career in music. It just doesn't pay very well, so I stick with my day job for now. Maybe when I retire, I'll look at it more earnestly.
Absolutely. So you've written the music for Fortress of Freedom, for the radio commercials, and the music for the TV show. And are you going to be involved musically with Fortress of Freedom in the future?
Yeah, if they want me to.
That sounds great. So what does Fortress of Freedom mean to you?
Well, freedom is a good thing. Right to speak is good. I like the idea of a free chat site for news.
Absolutely. So you can perform a song for us now, Dave?
Sure I will.
That sounds great.
I wrote this in the 80s sometime. Hey, Boris, cigarette off again? Would you mind lighting for me?
Absolutely. I'll be right back.
Thanks. This song is something I wrote a long time ago, back when I smoked. It's not meant to be a preaching song. It's not really meant for anything other than make people think a little bit about what they're doing. I haven't smoked for a while. I've been quit for about 5 years. I'm not going to smoke this one, but when I wrote it, I said, the piece has got to be played with a lit cigarette, that's all, because I don't really want people to think I'm preaching.
Can't get enough, whoa, maybe you can. As long as you got at least one in your hand. Don't need a needle, but you know you might as well, cause it wouldn't cause as much or make your breath smell like nicotine. It's a businessman's dream. Nicotine. Gonna make your body scream. Nicotine. Why don't you take a little more of the heroin you're buying at your local corner store? Glad you got it, but you know it's got you. Won't get you high, but it might keep you calm until you look around and your last one's gone. Nicotine, taxman's dream. Nicotine, make your body scream. Nicotine, Why don't you take a little more of the heroin you're buying at your little corner store? You say you never quit, then sometimes you say you will. Must be some kind of doubts there nagging you still. But if cancer death don't scare you, it's something that can. Total nicotine control in the hands of the tax man. Nicotine, it's a tax man's dream. Nicotine don't make your body scream. Nicotine, why don't you take a little more of the heroin you're buying at your local corner store? Thank you for listening.
First of all, I would like to thank all of you for showing up today at our first annual picnic. Even though our crowd is small, I am nevertheless proud and honored to be associated with such a fine group of dedicated people. I say this because you were the first who supported this organization when it was little more than an idea in our heads. That support has now grown into an organization that is now ready to take on the world. For those of you who are new to our message, let me tell you who we are and what we represent. Fortress of Freedom is not a fortress of bricks and mortar, it is a fortress of the mind, protecting our fundamental rights to free speech and freedom of thought. We believe these freedoms are absolute and are part of the defining nature of mankind. But you may ask, on what basis you rest all of these statements? Well, I believe the following analogy will put those questions to rest. When a child first starts to speak, it does so on its own and says what it can without prompting from its parents. When a child begins to move about and explore the world, it does so on its own without looking for parental permission. The child does whatever comes to its mind, and the parents have to slowly teach the child what is permissible to say and what parts of the child's world are safe to explore. However, what we need to note is that the child starts speaking and exploring and moving about by itself without looking for any permission from its parents. And because this comes from within without prompting, I deem them to be part of human nature. Because our first response is to speak whatever comes to mind and to move whenever we feel the urge, these parts of human nature should be looked at as rights. Since these are natural activities that humans do without prompting, I believe people are happiest in this state. Therefore, we at this organization protect these rights, specifically freedom of speech and freedom of thought, as the two are irrevocably linked to each other. We protect these freedoms of speech and thought by supporting free speech through our two organizations and corporations. Fortress of Freedom is a corporation devoted to bringing the mass media to the masses. It is the mechanism our members use when they have no other source to broadcast their message to the world at large. We support free speech through our very accessible website called fortressoffreedom.com, our newspaper called The Fortress, and through our publishing company, Media, Radio Access, and Television Productions. By being a multifaceted media company available to all, we really do bring the mass media to the masses and wrestle the organs of mass persuasion from the wealthy few. International Archiving of Independent Journalists is a corporation devoted to validating and verifying anyone who wishes to be a journalist. We support the idea of a free press by verifying and validating anyone in the world as a journalist who meet our liberal standards of at least one quality report broadcast to the world at large. As verified and validated journalists, these members fall under international protections afforded journalists whether or not their particular countries endorse this designation. We are particularly interested in validating and verifying people in the third world who do not have free speech and a free press enshrined in their country's constitution. People become a journalist by simply using our media company called Fortress of Freedom to broadcast the news to their fellow citizens. And because we allow anyone, anywhere, to become a member and qualify them by such liberal standards, free speech for our journalists mean free speech for all. This is a grassroots movement, and we are supported by nobody other than the ordinary folk you see before you. We are everyone, and we are concerned about the erosion of free speech and freedom of thought in our world and the future world of our children. So we now act as advocates of free speech and thought to the movers and shakers of this world. Every journey begins with one small step, and we have taken that step today. Thank you.
You've met some of the people already involved with Fortress of Freedom, and as you've seen, they're a diverse group who have something to say and want the freedom to say it, be it through their music, poetry, or through reporting or commenting on news stories. You too can have this through Fortress of Freedom. We can promote your interest or cause, and because we're international, we can give a wider audience to what you have to say. Fortress of Freedom is your free speech and freedom of thought advocacy group. This is Dan Strudwick for Fortress of Freedom. Thanks for watching.
Real life, the kind of life that I'll be living. Yeah, real life. Lord, tell me when I'll be forgiven. Oh yeah, the money's tight and the times are tough. I smoke for my will and it's to them rough. And as for welfare, well, they just love me out. So what'll I do? It's real life for me too.